All right, let's get into it. Sometimes the biggest lessons come from the weirdest places. Today, we're going to look at how a student's viral video, just a rant about being late for school, actually cracks open this universal problem that we see in systems everywhere, from the classroom all the way up to the boardroom. It really all starts here with this raw emotion. This is the heart of that student's rant. And it's not really about being late, is it? It's about feeling totally misunderstood by a system that just feels cold and impersonal. And boy, did that feeling resonate with millions of people online. And what triggered this whole thing? This feeling of being treated like a criminal? Four. 4 times being late. That's all it took to get called in for a formal meeting with a truancy officer. It just escalated so fast, from a tiny issue to this huge confrontation. But the reason this whole thing just blew up online is because it's about so much more than one student. This little moment, it's like a perfect case study. It's a little laboratory for watching how we react to authority, how we form tribes, and how we argue about the rules. And when you really dig into the comments section, you see these classic psychological patterns just jump right out at you. You've got that timeless struggle for autonomy against authority. You see an us versus them mentality form almost instantly. And then, of course, there's humor, used as a shield, as a weapon to kind of rally the troops. It's so clearly about more than just being on time. So that gets you thinking, right? Is this small-scale school drama just a one-off thing? Or is it a pattern? Is this a dynamic that shows up again and again in much bigger, much more serious situations? Well, turns out it's everywhere. Think about a construction site for a second. The tension between a builder who's on the ground, dealing with mud and deadlines, and a quality regulator who shows up with a clipboard, it is almost the exact same dynamic as the student and the truancy officer. And the core feeling in both of these worlds, it's this, right here. It's that deep frustration of being judged by someone who just isn't living your reality. They don't understand the context, the pressures, or the real-world consequences of the rules they're enforcing. So, okay, if this tension is pretty much universal, how do we get a grip on it? How can we actually analyze it? Well, luckily, there's this really powerful management framework that maps this kind of conflict out perfectly. Let's check it out. It's called the Custom Fit Quadrant, and it is a brilliant way to visualize these clashes. It basically works on 2 axes. So along the top, you have the tension between a mass approach, think one-size-fits-all rules, and a customized approach that looks at the specific situation. And then down the side, you have the tension between a specialist who has a very narrow job and a generalist who's responsible for the whole shebang. Now, the system, the truancy officer, the quality regulator, they almost always live in this top left box. It's all about system control. Their job is to be a specialist who applies a uniform rule to everyone. The whole point is to be objective and consistent, right? But the individual, our student, our builder, they are living in the complete opposite corner of the map, down here in the bottom right. This is integral responsibility. This is where you're a generalist who has to deal with the messy, complicated, unique context of your actual life or your project. So the conflict, that viral rant, that explosion of comments, it happens for a very specific reason. It's because these 2 positions are in direct opposition. They are on a collision course. And there's a name for this. It's called diagonal tension. And it is so explosive because the 2 sides aren't just disagreeing about the facts. They are operating from completely different worldviews. They're basically speaking different languages. And this is the same exact dynamic that can poison a company's culture or lead to total political gridlock. So here's the absolute key insight. The problem isn't the rule about being late. The problem is that the system is stuck in that top left corner, demanding control while the person is stuck in the bottom right, just trying to live their life. Okay, so if that kind of rigid control from one corner of the map causes so much friction and anger, what's the alternative? How do we actually fix this? The answer isn't, just throwing out all the rules and letting chaos take over. No way. It's about evolving the role of that professional, the officer, the manager, the regulator, from being just a controller to something much, much smarter. And that new role has a name: balance regulation. With this approach, the focus totally shifts. You're not just trying to enforce a rule anymore. You're trying to restore equilibrium, to find balance in the whole system. The goal itself actually changes. And this model shows you how to actually do it. It's a 5-step process, and the real magic, the part that changes everything, happens right here in the middle. See, Instead of jumping from step one, the signal, like being late 4 times, straight to a harsh intervention, a balance regulator pauses. They take the time to interpret the context and position the problem on the map. Why is this happening? Only then do they choose a proportional way to intervene. I mean, look at the difference here. This slide says it all. The question fundamentally changes. It's no longer, did you break the rule? It's, what is happening here? The goal isn't just enforcement anymore. It's finding that equilibrium. You basically go from being a rule enforcer to a strategic process manager. And this approach, it doesn't make the system weaker. It makes it so much smarter. The structure, the rules, they're still there for clarity. But now context leads the way. Responsibility is shared, and proportionality is everything. It just creates a system that feels more fair, more legitimate, and at the end of the day, works a whole lot better. So what's the big idea we should walk away with after this whole journey? From a simple student rant all the way to a pretty sophisticated management framework. I think the core lesson is this. When a system only cares about control, no matter how good the intentions are, it almost always creates the exact resistance it's trying to stop. But systems that actively try to create balance, they don't just get people to follow the rules, they generate actual support. People buy in. If we want to build systems that actually work and that are built to last, whether that's in a school, a company, or a government, we've got to get past simple, rigid enforcement. The future of any kind of effective leadership is really about mastering this art of balance. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about in our own jobs, in our own lives. Take a look at the systems that you're a part of, or maybe the ones you help create. Are they designed for control, or are they designed for balance? Because the answer to that question, well, it might just change everything.